Hello and welcome to the SFCA podcast. Our goal is to inspire travel. We want to expose you to what Miami and South Florida has to offer. From Key Biscayne to Coconut Grove, South Beach to Calle Ocho and everywhere in between. Miami is a vibrant city and offers a wide array of popular attractions and venues. Come join us. So welcome everyone. My apologies to Maria and her team. I was supposed to be at the Zoological Wildlife Foundation. Unfortunately, over the weekend, I got a bit of a cold and I didn't want to put anyone in danger. I'm going to be tested for COVID later on today just to make sure I don't have anything. I'm nasal. I'm taking a bunch of antihistamine, so I feel a lot better than I did this morning when I woke up. Welcome everybody. Season is here, the best time of the year. The weather is phenomenal. The holidays are coming just around the corner, starting with Halloween on Monday, and then all the events that are going on, including Basel. Basel's just around the corner. It's December 1st through the 3rd. We have a great presentation for you next month with John Copeland, the Director of Arts and Cultural Tourism for the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau, and also some special guests. So mark your calendar, November 14th at 10 a.m. We will have John, Andrew, and some other guests on the call as well. A special recognition to our sales teams and hotel managers and support staff that are on the call. We truly appreciate your support. For those of you just joining us on the call for the first time, we want to welcome you on this call. We share facts, figures, and stats in South Florida tourism. And we also have a little fun. We have some entertaining and informative facts that we hope you enjoy. Let's see how we're looking for our real first season. Now, last season was, you still had some financial stimulus. It's all gone now. And now we're going to get our first real season. So let's see how that pans out. And we'll also see how the new year trends as well. Andrew will give us all the facts and figures, the real facts and figures on how things are starting to pan out. I want to ensure that everyone's familiar with the chat feature. You're welcome to ask questions of the panel via the chat Q&R. And we also have merchandise. The hottest commodity in today's day and age is fuel. Maria will be giving away a $50 gas card at the end of her presentation with a question. So make sure you're familiar with the chat feature, because whatever question she asks, you'll be responding on the chat feature. And then Ayana is also going to be giving away a great prize as well. She will give away 2 one-day passes to Basel, which have a value of $140. All you have to do is focus on the presentation to win. Listen to the question, be the first one to give the right answer via the chat, and win. You can only win once on the call. So if you win the first prize, you're not eligible for the second prize, even though you may be the right answer the first time, just so you're aware of that. I'd like to introduce you to our panel, as I said before, Andrew Wobensmith from the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau. He is the man with all the knowledge, facts, and figures on South Florida. We also have special guests today from the Zoological Wildlife Foundation, also called the ZWF, Maria Tabrawi, Executive Director and Vice President. And then also from Atavi Kids, Ayana Rodriguez. And we will go ahead and go off to Maria. Maria, are you ready? Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good. Let me get you queued up, and then you can start your presentation and we will go from there. Allow me 1 second. Screen should be coming on screen now. All right, Maria, you are on. Go ahead.
On our first presentation, here shows some of the animals that we have, and it explains about zoological of the animals that we like to do our presentations and encounters with our guests that come to ZWF. On number 2, it tells you about Maria, that I've been doing this business for almost going to be 22 years now. The experience that I have with exotic animals and the passion that we have with exotic animals, and the idea that came into place that is now a staple in Miami, Florida. Basically, Mario and I have a love and passion for the animals, and we would like to share that with everybody around the world. And we decided to create an experience up close and personal, and encounters with exotic animals that are in captivity. And the passion and love that we have, we wanted to share with everybody around the world. So we have people coming from all walks of life coming to our park. It's a 5-acre facility located in Miami, Florida. And here we do many events. It's a venue location as well. So if you want to host any birthday party, any milestones, weddings, this is a place to come and do it. Um, on slide number 2, on slide number 3, we have a video, a little video of ZWF. So you can actually get to see and a vision of what we show our customers when they're here. And you can have an idea up close and personal of the park. On number 4, here it speaks about one of our experiences. Basically, this is the one that sells the most, the general wildlife experience. We have lowered the price for the guests to make it feasible because of after COVID and how the economy is. We made it very feasible for them this year, but the prices will go up next year. So basically here you have a walk around the park. You have a walk around the park. You get to see some of the animals up close and personal. It's a 1-hour experience. And like I said, this is the one that sells the most for people that are cannot pay X amount of money. This will be a very good experience and is economical for them. Number 5, it tells you about a ZWF wildlife presentation. So basically, this is a 2-hour guided tour experience around the park. You get to sit in our amphitheater. You get to touch some of the animals. And this one will start from 10 to 2. So basically, it's a 2-hour experience. And it usually is on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And the price for adults starts at $165 and for children, $85 plus tax. So then you go to number 6. This is another primate experience. And here you get out to see a 1-hour experience with many of our different primates up close and personal. So you do a 30-minute walk around with adult primates. You get to see them, you get to interact with them, and that price is $200 and $100 per child. On number 7, you get to see our feline experience, the ultimate experience for feline lovers. So if you love animals, you love felines, this is a place to be. This is a place where you're going to get to see those small animals up close and personal, take pictures with them. You get to see an African serval, feline cubs, whatever we have available at the moment. You get to do the big cat feeding, where you do the tug of war. You get to interact with a savannah, do a F1 savannah encounter and tour of the big cats. And that price is $550 per adult. No children are allowed to do this interaction because they have to be a certain height. So we didn't want no children to be doing this kind of encounter. Okay. So on number 8, the special wildlife encounter is a 3-hour wildlife adventure that educates the guests on our animal ambassadors and worldwide conservation efforts that we do as Zoological Wildlife Foundation. And in here we have the savannah encounter, the primate, the sloth, owl, savannah, and the general wildlife encounter is included in this experience. You get to see our lion cubs or jaguar cubs that we have available. And this one starts at $795 per adult and $355 per children. And this one sells very quickly, very fast. Number 9, the VIP Jungle Experience was an experience that I decided to create. And basically it includes everything that we have in the park. You also have a chef coming in and doing a private presentation. You have lunch for 1 hour and you get to see also the experience of drummers and dancers on this VIP Jungle Experience. So it basically is a 5-hour guided experience through the park. It has the ZWF VIP package, which includes the general, the animal presentation, the feline, the primates, the owl, the cater lunch, sloth, tamandua, and animals from the special encounter. So this one, if you have VIP clients that want to come in and do this is the ultimate experience at ZWF. It's a $4,000 per adult for 2. Every additional is $1,000 adult. Children's is $1,200 for 2 children, and every additional children from the ages 4 to 17 is $500 per child additional. And on slide 10, you get to see our flamingos as you're walking through the park on the general. And it's a beautiful picture. It's a beautiful animals. Then we go to slide 7, and in here you have the tug of war, the big cat experience. So this experience is a 10-minute session. Is $150 for adults and $120, ages 6 and up. So we try to prove the strength between a feline and a human. And I guarantee you the feline will always win. But it's a beautiful experience that a lot of our guests come because they want to see that power between a human and a feline. On slide 12, it's a cougar cub encounter. You get the opportunity of a lifetime to play with a baby cougar and experience a one-of-a-kind encounter with the sweetest cats ever. This encounter is about 5 to 8 minutes per person, and we can do large groups up to 30. This one is $300 per adult and $150 per child. On slide 13, you get to also do the lion cub encounter. And the idea that we separated these encounters are so you be able to do different felines and be able to learn the different felines that we have as EWF, and separate them because that gives you the opportunity to get to know them and get to know each kind of felines that we have. This one is $350 per adult and $175 per child. And you get to play with a baby lion. And I mean, this one is I would say is priceless because they're so verbal, they're so sweet. And like I said, you can go to a zoo and see animals from afar, but when you're here, you get to see these animals and experience up close and personal. And the educational experience, and you get to see our tour guides, the love and the passion they have for the animals. On slide 14, we have the serval encounter. This is these animals come from Africa. They're very verbal. They love to jump. They love to play. And this is a 5-minute interaction. Each person will have to get a 5-minute interaction and interact with these animals. They're the fastest cats in the wild, other than the cheetah. On slide 16, we have the baby serval. And you can meet a very sweet tempered serval cub. You'll find them hidden on grass on the Africa, and they're loving. They're very loving. These felines love to hunt and jump, and they get to jump about 12 feet high. These animals, like I said, you have to see them up close and personal to be able to understand, and this is a place to come and visit them. And this experience is $200 per adult, $100 per child. Then you have our primate encounters. The primate encounters, I'm a primate lover, so you get to touch the animal, you get to hold the animal, you get to see that interaction between a primate and a human. You get to see your children have this interaction, which is a one in a lifetime experience where you and I'm going to be able to get that. If you go to a zoo, if you go to Africa, I mean, you can see them from afar, but here you're going to get to experience this up close and personal. This one is $70 per adult and $35 per children. On our next one is the sloth encounter. I mean, these animals are very slow, but they're so beautiful. They move very slow, but they're, when you touch them and you see their bodies and you see their hair, it's very lovable. You get to be up close and personal experiences. You get to touch them. And take pictures. And I mean, people come from all over the world to see these animals and feed them. Then we go to our next slide. This is our savanna encounter. This is an F1 savanna. We have 2 of them. And they're descended from the African serval, and they're domestic cats. They're feline hybrids, and they share a striking resemblance with the wild relative, with the wild felines. And you get to see the distinction in the coat and how tall they are and the ears. And they jump very high as well. This is a 5-minute interaction, and the price starts at $50 and $25 per children. On slide 19, you get to experience the owl encounter. And if you ever have not met an owl, I mean, this owl ratio is spectacular. It's a 10-minute session, and you get to the thrill of having these amazing birds perch right on your arm. And this encounter starts at $70 and children $35. Then we have the tamandua encounter. This is a lesser tamandua. You get to experience a 5-minute one-on-one with this fascinating animal. Their tongue is 16 inches long. They eat ants. And I mean, it's just beautiful. And like I said, you get to touch them, you get to feel them, you get to take pictures with them. And a lot of people come to see these animals because they're very different. Adults are 70, children are 35. And basically on slide 21, it tells you our contact information, our email where you want to make reservations. You can go to peak.com and also do your booking online as well. For concierge, they can also call info, they can call us, and our booking agents team can help you organize that reservation for your client. We're always here, open and available to ask any questions, direct you, and help you. And like I said, if you sell our tickets, there's always a commission on it, and it's a staple in Florida. And this is a place, if people want to stay at a hotel and people want to come and experience an up close personal experience with animal, this is a place to be.
Great presentation, Maria. Now, we did have a question. If anyone has questions, please use the chat feature to ask the question. One person did have a question, and they wanted to know where, Brianna Aida wanted to know where the animals come from.
Okay, some of our animals, we have acquired ourselves. Some of the animals, we work with foundations like us. So in order not to inbreed, we either trade animals, we get animals, and that's how we have built our sanctuary, our foundation. So the purpose is not to inbreed, and the purpose is to have as many animals that are in captivity that we can have share with the world and educate them. That's what we do.
Okay, and then Charlotte Dawn asked, where is your physical location?
We are located in Miami, Florida. If the address we're basically Incorporated Day or the hammocks. So we're from South Beach, we're about 50 minutes away. And the address is 16225 Southwest 172nd Avenue, Miami, Florida, 33187.
Okay, so it's roughly about 45 minutes to an hour from downtown Miami.
And we brought also, going back to the question they asked me, we also have
Sure.
brought animals from Africa in order to avoid from can hunting. That's what they do a lot. They can hunt. People will fly and will get their license, kill a lion and bring the head. So we have brought a lot of our animals, imported them from Africa, the lions, to be able to help to rescue them, basically.
Cool. Now I have a question. During COVID, did the animals, since they're so used to having human contact with multiple individuals, what did you do? What did you do during COVID to ensure that the animals continued to remain somewhat normal?
Well, we always have, remember, the animal, we're open 7 days a week. The animals need to be taken care of. That's one thing that you can't close, say, okay, we'll see you in a month. You know what I mean?
Right.
We have animal curators. The animals they will come every day. We had an emergency crew that will come every day, feed them clean. Then we have our tour guides that will come in and they will work half the day. So they will come in and actually interact, take them out. So they would actually have downtime to interact with the animals taken out, feel that nothing had changed. Everything was normal. And remember, they're 5 acres. So the animals, in the morning, animals talk to each other. So you're in the wild. You can hear the lions roaring. You can hear the capuchins, the gibbons. So they communicate. So it's a regular day in Miami.
Wow. That must be kind of cool living in that whole environment.
I live in the zoo like the movie, so it's beautiful.
Wow, 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 wow. And then how do they handle the hurricanes, the natural disasters? Do the animals have a tendency of changing their behavior when the barometric pressure drops?
Yes, they know.
They know.
It's how they know, and they'll stay. They'll push down. They'll stay. They sense. I mean, living in the wild, when something is coming that's different. And we have the team that are very good, and we have our vet that comes in, and we have the protocol in place where they come in, and they'll, all our primates will come in. We don't leave the primates out. The birds, some of the felines, they have their lockouts where they will go in there to ensure. And luckily, the property that we have is not on a flooding zone, so we're good.
Okay, cool. Any other questions? I had I don't know if there was a question, but it said, Lois Feltram, you said VIP jungle experience. Did you want more elaboration on that, or did you have a question? Let me know. Also, the PowerPoint that she shared, we will be sharing with everybody in our, thank you, Lois, in our post notes, as well as Ayana's presentation, as well as Andrew's presentation. So thank you very much, Maria, for putting that together. If anyone has any questions that may come to mind during the remainder of this call, by all means, just shoot us a quick chat and we can circle back to Maria and get the information from her. Next up is Ayana Rodriguez from, how do you pronounce it? Itavi?
Itavi, correct.
Itavi. And she's going to be making a presentation on child care services. Go ahead, Ayana. The microphone and camera are yours.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm going to share a screen here shortly, but I would like to just say thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here with you this morning. Again, my name is Ayana, and I am the founder of Itavi, ITAVI, which stands for It Takes a Village, because we truly believe it takes a village in raising children. I'm going to go ahead and share screen here. If you just bear with me 1 second. So again, Itavi, which stands for It Takes a Village. We launched in November of 2019, right before COVID, as we all know, which was March of 2020. And we are a Miami company. We're founded here. I'm from Miami and come from a hospitality family. I'm married to Steve Boucher of Boucher Brothers. And Itavi is a product and programming that I really identified a need for in hospitality, identifying how do we resolve for childcare when guests are traveling and they don't really know the landscape or who to trust. And a lot of their go-to and trust comes down to the table of the concierge team and, or friends on the ground. And trust when it comes to childcare is a very subjective process, one in which I could be best friends with Miguel. He could recommend somebody, they come to my place and it doesn't work for me. So our goal and what we have done is put standards and a face to what trust should look like. So we have partnered with some really wonderful hospitality partners, Fontainebleau being one hotel. We actually run their kids club, Seedlings. We are also at Bath Club. We manage and operate and curate. We were at Boca, and we offer a few different program opportunities in childcare and really curating the experience of a child guest. So one is, who we are. All of our childcare professionals are vetted and trained. It's not just a network. It's really a team of a community that we have created, that we know who is coming to the property prior to their arrival. They have been trained by Itavi. We have been vetted. We do checker. We do extensive background checks. And a key part of who we are is really understanding our childcare professionals. We don't use the term babysitters. Why? Because we are not babysitters. We are not, no offense, but teenagers or young adults that have no experience in the childcare industry. We are made up of teachers, guidance counselors, nurses, professionals who are in the empathy field And our goal for them as stakeholders is to really give them a community that gives them the opportunity to be better and a sense of resolve. So we are there to help them resolve as they are navigating through their childcare professional experience. So that's one on our team and who we're made up of. And those are actually some of our childcare professionals in that photo. Another key part that we incorporate is the ITAVI method. And we believe in creating an experience when we are sharing space or invited into the space of families. We are, I don't want to say anti because that has so many different terms now, but our goal is to get away from iPads, electronics, movies. So we come prepared with our ITAVI method, which all of our childcare professionals are trained on. And we have a programming director who is a professional as well, a teacher, and she's been with us for quite some time. And we change out our programming quarterly. And this programming really hits on a few different points. We have play, exercise, learning, arts and crafts, and local culture and immersion. So in Miami, we believe they might learn a little bit, a few steps of salsa dancing or Spanish words. Since this is our backdrop and our culture, and we want to, as guests are arriving, a lot of them might be from Europe or other parts of the country that don't know much about Miami. So with this, the ITAVI method, of course, we incorporate this one to create an experience, as I mentioned, but also something tangible. So parents feel that while they went out to dinner or they had an event, their child too had an experience, had fun, so that they don't feel guilty about leaving their children. We saw a tremendous uptick in children traveling during, as Miami was open, as we all know. So families travel more so with their children, and we're looking for an opportunity to have space from their children because they had been in lockdown with their children, and really serving the role as teacher, parent. We wore so many hats during that time, and parents really needed a breather. So we were really able to address that and resolve that in a positive way. Hence why now we are scaling and have been honored to partner with many different, as I mentioned, we just partnered with Aquilina and some other wonderful, fine hospitality organizations in South Florida. So we have the ITAVI method. We have vetted and trained childcare professionals. This just really goes a little bit into our learning and what we might do on a day-to-day basis while we're, even if it's 4 hours. How it works is parents are able to go to our website, which is itavikids.com. We're actually transferring to itavikids.com. Right now, it's ITAVI happening on Tuesday. In any case, it is curated for the entire time the childcare professional is with us. And we are able to, while their children are with us. So there might be, like I mentioned, Spanish words, lessons and movements, yoga, depending on where we are culturally, our locale, there will be different integrations into that so that we can capture that. Wellness, we really believe in setting the tone. A lot of children are coming off to us from traveling, and we want to set the tone. So we might do some breathing exercises as we enter the room. These are, I see some questions, so I'm going to integrate them as we're going along. These are one-to-one sessions that are in the guest room. And so what would happen is the procedure and protocol on that is a guest will either ask the concierge team if they have a trusted childcare resource. You can either guide them to us. We can provide you with a QR code that would land to a booking page or directly to our website. We have partner pages if you go to our website. So there will be up for example, Plymouth, Think Group, Fontainebleau, One Hotel. So they can go directly to that partner page and book directly. And then there's a host of questions, takes 5 minutes on their phone. Why we also have a really high threshold for liability and trust. So anything that they put on there is coming from their IP address that would hold some accountability for the parents as well. Allergies, day, time, they will receive a phone call directly from ITAVI because we do offer a white glove service. It helps us to verify the information, introduce our service, and really also find out any information that will help our childcare professional better understand the landscape upon their arrival, i.e., this is the parent's first time trusting an outside childcare professional. So we might want to call them or dial in with FaceTime every half hour. Or the parents are going to be there at live till 5 a.m. So it's going to be a late night, and we are prepared to, offer childcare in that situation as well. So I don't know if we are having connection issues, but I'm going to continue moving on with our program. So we also believe in really having children in our kids clubs, which we do offer on certain properties, i.e. the one hotel, as I mentioned. It's a full day of programming that really does also incorporate the ITAVI method just on a larger scale, with touch points of all of the pillars that we incorporate. Sustainability is a big part of our ethos as well. So children, we, even in our one-to-one sessions, when a family might book us for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, if they have an event or a dinner to go to, our materials that we bring to execute our ITAVI method, which are the arts and crafts, are all sustainable, because we believe that children should really have an understanding of that. And our intentions are very simple. When we enter a space with a child, we want to leave that child better than when we found them. And we believe that with that intentionality, we're able to offer the children being better, the parents better, the hotel's better, ITAVI's better, our childcare professionals are better. So it all is aligned. Family fun. This is, just another opportunity that we've been able to capture on properties at hotels, where we bring in different shows and themed crafted activities that are spearhead for families during high peak occupancy times. So for example, at the one hotel, we're there during their festive week. We also have partnered with different concierge or organizations at, for example, the Continuum, Arte Surfside, 1000 Museum. We've partnered with and offering them childcare at Continuum during high residence times. We will actually spearhead a few hours of family fun, curated shows and arts and crafts. This just gives you an example of our programming, which we change out monthly, and it's all theme-based. And this, as I mentioned, we have a program curator on board that we really dedicate a lot of time, strategy, and the opportunity to elevate the programming, so that we know that these children have had tremendous experiences all around the world. So we want to meet them at where they are. We don't believe in slime. There's much to be said for that, but that children can get that other places. We want to provide an engaging experience where they actually want to come back to, where they ask for us, that they send notes, time after time. We've seen tremendous repeat clients at this point, just because they know it's safe, it's fun, and there's a value to that. Recently, we had the opportunity, just to give you some highlights, of being highlighted in Forbes, Us Weekly, and other many different publications, just based on our growth and how we're scaling, and our method and our procedure, which, I created this as childcare, as we know, is a very nut to crack, but with just an intentionality and approach that just takes it back to basics in a lot of ways, with truth, with transparency, with liability, making sure our hotel partners are covered and meeting their threshold and benchmarks, and minimizing risk at every step along the way. We have tremendous to have time and resources put into our process, and one where we adjust accordingly. However, we really do value safety first and foremost. And, through our process, we also help our partners by boosting TripAdvisor scores, because we really work with guests in getting their feedback and their responses, and encouraging, them to complete TripAdvisors, even if they're with us for a few days, a day in the one-to-one session, or participating in the kids club. So we've been able to really be a complete partner to our organizations throughout. So there is a lot of information. I know childcare can be a very sticky one. We simplify it, and we also really provide resolve because we're accessible, and we work through with our partners and how to make it better based on the hotel's culture, ethos, and where their pain points are. And we really work on how to resolve that in a strategic manner. So with that said, do we do both group, meaning hotel space, and having several guest children? So yes, so we do group space. If a group is traveling, for example, sales, a team, we just worked with Wells Fargo's group not too long ago, and Boca, and we curated their programming for them. If there's a dedicated space that we can use on the hotel premises, that's great. We've done it for the Diplomat at one point in time, or we can customize it to be one-to-one, as mentioned. So we really do cover the gamut between larger groups, smaller groups, and individual groups, or one-to-one, as I have mentioned before. And again, the way to book us is through itavikids.com, or you can also just reach out to us. I'm sure Miguel will share our information. I'm accessible directly. I believe that is a lot, but gives you a highlight of who we are and how we do our most prized work, which is making sure people's children are well taken care of and provide an experience for them.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ayana. Real quick, will you share that PowerPoint with us so we can share it with the rest of the group after?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
I will email that to
Excellent.
you.
And then I have a question for you. Go ahead.
Yes. No, I think I also, before we jump, I have this 2-person 1-day pass that I need to execute too.
Exactly.
Or is that at the end?
Yeah, no, we're going to do it now. But I have a question for you. If I'm a part-time resident of South Florida and I have a condo in Miami Beach or where have you, and I want to partake in this whole Itavia experience, but I don't want the child to be in my residence. I want them to engage with other kids. Can they go to any of your current hotels or locations, or that specifically for hotel guests and residential guests of that particular property?
That's a wonderful question, Miguel. And currently, the hotel guests are just for the properties are just for hotel guests and the kids clubs. And we are working with, for example, the Continuum. They do have a dedicated space and understand the needs. So we're working on fleshing out programs that where maybe residents can drop off. But currently, it would be one-to-one where we would come and make sure that that child is carried forward and has that experience in the residence property individually. We don't have a shared space.
Understood. And now this is a more of a professional opinion. Have you noticed, considering what we've been through and the way kids are today because of this whole withdrawal, have you noticed that kids are more difficult to engage with others, or are they still attached to what I call a digital pacifier, that iPad, that iPhone, and they're just engaged to that electronic device and don't really want to interact with other kids?
So there's two folds to that. In our initial experiences as we were going through this and how wonderful that Florida was open and we saw a lot of guests, we had a lot of children who were still babies when COVID first started, and then they were about 3 coming to us. They really have very limited social engagement with other children, and parents were crying tears when they saw their children running around playing tag outside with our guests, other children, and engaging. So that answers that question. We all felt trauma. I think children felt the most. I believe that we are working towards, some sort of reconnecting and balance consistently. Our goals of making sure children, and that's why we walk into a hotel kids club and we have them remove all computers, TV screens, because I know as a parent, mom of 3, they get enough of that at home. So I would not, as a resident or a guest, want to be paying for that as well. They can get that at home. So what's the value we're bringing? It's this old school. We really do icebreakers. It's this concept of, when you go, I don't know if anybody went away for summer camp, you really went back because you were able to engage with other people, kids, and get to know their names. So when we have our success is at our kids club, besides the programming, is Johnny wants to come back to see, Ryan the next day. And that's what they're asking for. So we really facilitate and encourage those relationships from day one as they step into the kids club, or hour one, or moment one. And that's really where we have our strong points and where we continue to develop that to make sure that children are being fulfilled socially and relearning those skills where they lost it, as you mentioned, from being home for so long.
Got it. Okay. Well, thank you very much for that detailed answer, and it brings a lot of information back to us. Now we're going to be giving away an amazing prize, and then we have to circle back to Maria as well because she has a $50 gas card. But right now, Ayana has 2 tickets, 1-day passes for Basel, and she will present the question. You will respond in the chat mode, and then we will go from there. Everyone ready?
Okay,
Ayana,
so I'm ready. So I mentioned that ITAVI is an acronym, and I would like to know who knows what up.
Wow, that was quick. That was quick. You can even finish that answer. That was an easy one. Hold on one second. I've got Andrea Mora. Is that correct? That's what you have? Andrea,
yes.
Cool. Andrea, congratulations. You will be receiving 2 tickets for Basel, day of your choice, December 1st to the 3rd. Thank you very much, Ayana. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your time,
Mora.
and look forward to working with you and resolving your guests, residents, childcare needs as you fit.
Excellent. Don't forget to send us the PowerPoint as well.
I will. I'll
Excellent.
do it right now.
Now we're going to circle back to Maria because we still have one more other question that Maria will give to the group, and then we are monitoring the chat. So get ready.
This is a trivia question. Is a capuchin a New World monkey or an Old World monkey? And how can you?
That was quick. Is it old? Or
no. What's the difference between an Old World monkey and a New World monkey?
Everyone answered old.
Old, no.
No. Okay,
Yeah.
so we have to get a different question because now everybody knows that it's a new. So go ahead, give us another question that we can answer.
Oh, another question. Okay. Do you know the difference between a giant tamandua and a lesser tamandua? The colors?
Okay, let's see. Size?
Yes.
Size. Okay, Gary Figler. Gary Figler, you win a gas card. Congratulations. Gary, you are the winner of a gas card. Thank you very much, Maria.
Thank
and
you.
now we're going to zip off to our gentleman who knows all the information. And Andrew, if you run a little over, don't worry. The facts are important and we want to hear them. So don't cut yourself short. Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Woven-Smith from the Greater Miami Conventions Visitor Bureau. Go ahead, Andrew.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfect.
Great. All right. And great to be here again. Another month has gone by, and I just want to mention, I'll try to zip through as fast as possible since I know some of you are probably going to be butting up against 11 o'clock. As you know, I usually run pretty quick here, and you'll get a copy of this presentation when we're done. So that said, I have some pretty interesting things to share about, including a meeting that I went to the other week. I'm part of a new committee for a U.S. Travel Association. So I'm able to glean some insights that are really more coming from other destinations as well, and some of the more prevalent trends that we've been seeing going on. So with that, I'm just going to jump into some things here that are related to what we've been talking about in the last several months, but also some new developments. Here was a little article I found that came from Hotel News Now, just came through, and they talked about this meeting that was going on in Phoenix, Arizona, the lodging conference. And the reason I picked this is that it just grabbed me right off the bat that hoteliers are naturally optimistic people, and often they don't want to admit that the economy overall demand environment might be souring on them. However, some of them had to start to admit that the business travel has not returned to the pace they once hoped for. But what was really interesting to me is that in this group of what they say are dozens of high-ranking hotel industry executives, the majority acknowledge the broader economy is now in the midst of a recession. And I think that's really interesting because I think we've been hearing about recession, if we're in a recession, if we're not. We've talked about this the last several months. And this was the first group of people that just came out and said, we really do believe that we are in a recession. So they say, well, they may not feel it's as broad, it's more of a technical recession, but nonetheless, that they are saying that they are seeing some potential signs of a recession. And I thought that it was really interesting and some insightful that one of the people that was there, the president CEO of BRE Hotels and Resorts, I thought he was interestingly looking at this and saying, I think we have to start looking at our hotels a bit like alternative accommodations. And they talked about maybe looking at things like bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, family reunions. And so the idea here is he's putting out there is that maybe we should look at our properties as a place to bring us some other types of revenue other than room revenue. So interesting insight. But as I mentioned, what grabbed me was that this group does acknowledge that we are seeing some slowness in the economy, and we are expecting to go into a recession if we're not already in one. So I'll share with you along those lines. We every month do cover some economics. This is just a one pager here. I think most people know some of these figures, but these are all the figures that I look at that really show us where we're going. The consumer price index, as we know, continues to go up. Our gas prices, as we know, while they have lowered in recent months, they are going back up again. We are at 242 in January 2021. We are up on average to 382 right now and climbing. Things like our mortgage rates are going up. Rent, I thought was interesting. The median monthly rent went from $1,641 to just over $2,000 in that time period. Looking at prices like a new vehicle as an example, just over a year ago, we're up 9.4%. I'm really glad I bought a truck a year ago because now that same truck would have to pay almost 10% more than I did last year. So as we can see, costs are going up, electricity, food, these things that are affecting all of us, right? So real average hourly wages are essentially the real wages, which when we take into the account of rising income versus actual inflation, we see that we're actually, in a sense, making less. So, not great news. I have to share this though every month to give us an idea of some of those challenges that we're facing on both, macro and a micro view. Real quick here, I'll touch on this for people who are interested to know updates about the cruise industry. What we see here from a study I found recently from Cruise Lines International Association, they're seeing a really high level of demand for cruises that is exceeding 2019. So I thought that was really great news. A lot of these cruisers are saying, international cruisers are saying, we've stayed at least one night in a destination. A couple other facts here I pulled out. One that grabbed me was 60% of travelers said they later returned to a destination they had first visited in the past. So that's really great. That to me shows a return back to where we were in 2019, although I think we all know that 2019 is no longer here. It's great to see that the cruise industry continues to strengthen as we move along. I'll mention here, as I mentioned at the very beginning, I'm on this new committee for U.S. travel. It's in Washington, D.C. We meet yearly. So this was our inaugural meeting. About 30 of us, meaning me and geeks from other destinations, met up in Washington and we talked about the industry. We had a few people present. And what I did is I pulled some highlights from this, and I'm not going to read through all of them, but I thought these were things that stuck out to me as being highlights from our meeting that I think are interesting, because some of these things we hear about in tourism, but we don't necessarily explain them, or maybe we have questions around what we're hearing here. And again, these were some of the facts. We had an economist there who, talked about a global recession. Europeans are really impacted by a lot of things right now, to some extent, even worse than us when we look at energy. Something interesting popped out to me, because in travel, we keep talking about sustainability. And I've heard that word even on this call today, sustainability. But what I found interesting is that when some of this research around sustainability, when they start asking people, do you support sustainable destination? And people said, yeah. But it doesn't mean they choose that destination, right? So that kind of suggests that maybe even some people don't know what it means to be sustainable. I thought that was, that stood out to me. And not only that, but I talked about the barriers to people picking destinations that they consider to be sustainable, but they may not be aware of what that is to be sustainable destination. And they also have perceptions around cost. They're thinking, hey, you know what? If I want to go to this place, or I want to travel in a sustainable fashion, it may be more expensive, if you're flying versus driving, so forth, like eco-friendly options. There's no return to normal, as we all agreed on as a committee. There's a lot of different things out there that are affecting us that, we're not, as I mentioned, 2019 anymore. Business travel is generally agreed to not recover for several more years. Habits of companies have changed. Their types of meetings, their frequency of meetings have changed. We talked a lot about visa wait times. This is having a real serious impact on international visitation, and it is becoming more and more pronounced. And we see some of our countries, such as Brazil and Mexico. In 2010, we had established a program for these countries to come in, visa waiver programs and so forth around the world. But what we're finding here is that that's 2010, fast forward 10 years, and what people are finding, they want to renew their visas, but they're having to wait upwards of a year or more before they can renew their visas. So that is an issue for us that we're facing right now as a country. And I think to our extent as well, being that Brazil and Mexico are some of our top markets. We talked about the leisure and hospitality industry, that it continues to suffer from a lack of employees. There's a lot of struggles going on there. But finally, the biggest takeaway that I could take away from this meeting was that we're clearly, Greater Miami is clearly way ahead of the other destinations. And I use the word recovery, but I don't believe we're in recovery anymore. Probably halfway through 2021, we met 2019 in terms of our performance, met and exceeded. So I say recovery, but these other destinations are looking at these things, looking at data, looking at their metrics like we were a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So I thought that was really great news, although terrible for them, but also telling us that the strength of our industry continues to be really positive. Here in Miami, we are still a top tier destination, but also top of mind and very busy. I'll mention here about leisure and hospitality employment. This again comes from US Travel. They talked about how the latest jobs data came out for leisure and hospitality was positive in September, but we're still lagging as a country behind in terms of leisure and hospitality employment. And some barriers are existing and maybe getting a little bit worse around quit rates. More and more people are deciding they want to leave the industry and potentially go other places. And the bottom line here, why it matters, is obviously we are struggling across the country in terms of filling jobs in leisure and hospitality industry. A lot of these destinations that are opening up, again, when I just mentioned that a lot of these destinations are way far behind where we've been at, they are also struggling more so when it comes to leisure and hospitality employment than we are. So that probably begs the question, well, that's the country. How about Miami-Dade County? And we have a different story going on here in Miami-Dade County. Some very positive news, actually. When we look at, and that chart down there at the bottom, those line charts there, show what the number of leisure and hospitality jobs were in the last several years. In September was a milestone for us. We actually met and exceeded our leisure and hospitality jobs in 2019. So congratulations. This has been a real challenge for us. And while we know that there are still people that are challenged out there, still businesses that are challenged, we see a vastly improving job market in Miami-Dade, certainly leisure and hospitality, but also other jobs that are non-agriculture, as well as Florida. We've been really pacing much better than the rest of the country. I'll share this to you because I've shared some stuff on population of Miami to give you an idea of are people moving in or out. This is a discussion that we oftentimes have. I'm sharing this to you because it may not look like it's necessarily related to tourism, but it may be relevant to you, and it actually is related to tourism. Looking at a Redfin, and they have they're all about real estate, and they say that Miami was the most popular migration destination in the last couple of months versus what it was last year. I thought that was really interesting. A couple of months ago, I was sharing with you how we see as a county, we've actually seen a net decrease of population in Miami-Dade County because of, there's a lot of people coming in, but there may be more people leaving. And some of that may certainly be because of cost to live here, real estate and so forth. But what we see here is that when it comes to popularity, Miami is really at the top of the chart among Redfin users in terms of where they want to go. And what I found interesting too, although not a surprise, there's top origin markets. We see the number one origin market coming to Miami would be New Yorkers. So I guess the next time you're stuck behind somebody and they don't know where they're going, don't hit your horn. Don't worry. It's just a New Yorker who doesn't know their way around. And up north, you know what? They have this thing called turn signals. We don't have them here, but it's apparently a different world up there in the way that they drive and what they do. So, and I'm a Northeasterner, so I can say that. But that was the good news. And I'll share this too. The reason I share this as well is because in some of our visitor research, we're seeing that more and more of our visitors than ever before are coming here. They're staying with friends and family, but more particularly staying with friends. So this sort of lends into some economics where people may be challenged as to where they want to go. Maybe they can't afford places. Miami is not a cheap destination. So when you have a friend or you have a family member in Miami, that becomes another option for where you want to travel. So I think that's what's happening is we're seeing a lot of people coming from places like New York, which is one of our top visitor markets anyway, and they're coming here to stay with a friend or family. And I won't go through, there's a lot of heavy information here, but this is really a one pager on how our industry is doing as a whole. The first table up there is Miami-Dade County visitors, total visitors, regardless of origin, regardless of whether they're here overnight or day. And the takeaway here is that our domestic travel, it continues to be a powerhouse. It continues to go very, very, very high. We're doing very well versus last year. We're also higher than it was in 2019. But as you can see there, that red indicates lag. And that is with essentially our international markets. Our international markets, as we've talked about, have not returned yet to where it was in 2019. While we're seeing improvement, we're still lagging quite a bit. And if you go to the second table, these are air arrivals at both MIA and Fort Lauderdale to give you a little bit of comparison. So what we see here is that MIA is doing phenomenal as well. They've been pacing way above 2019 in terms of travelers, and a lot has to do with the fact that we have low-cost carriers. That also means that we are an airport that obviously offers a lot of options to other parts of the world, and so Miami has just become more and more popular. Fort Lauderdale, while not doing poorly, is also lagging. I thought that was interesting. My flight the other week, my flight coming both ways out of Fort Lauderdale was full, but they have still not caught up yet to where MIA is at. And then finally, that table on the bottom is just some simple hotel performance figures here in Miami. And the takeaway from that is that we are seeing positive hotel performance, continued positive hotel performance. Occupancy may be down a little bit, but actually that's really not a big deal, because what is really causing that is that increase in supply. We have almost 12% in supply increase versus 2019. So it does take time to fill those rooms back up again. Looking here real briefly, if we're wondering where our visitors are coming and where they may be coming from in the next 6 months, looking at travel agency ticket sales, which would include Expedia and so forth, in the next 6 months, we see that actually the split's interesting, because we actually see more international people buying tickets than people from the United States. And among those would be the Brazilians, Argentina, Canada, Colombia, and Mexico, the top 5, which is really our top markets anyway. So what we're seeing here is a return in terms of normal ranking, but certainly the volume is not where we would have wanted to be. To the right there, that's our pace, our booking pace versus last year. So we see that it's actually really, really positive, particularly for domestic, who are really booking much heavier for this coming first quarter, which again, very positive. International, while not really as strong, is still showing growth. So, whatever growth, we'll take it. Real briefly too, regional hotel occupancy, ADR and RevPAR. These 3 columns represent occupancy, ADR, and revenue per available room. This is breaking down Miami-Dade County and its different regions, as well as our neighbors to the north, neighbors to the south. And really, the takeaway here is that our room rates continue to be extremely strong. Versus comparing in 2019 and also comparing in 2021, it's all green. It means it's all good. And finally, if you're a hotelier, all you really care about is that last table, and that's RevPAR. What we can see here is that our RevPARs are still way above last year in 2019. We're getting to a point now where we're going to stop referring to 2019. As I already mentioned, we're just not in 2019 anymore. And if you're a hotelier, that your management doesn't really care that much about 2019 anymore. You care about how much money you made last year and how much more revenue you're going to make this year. Looking at the next 90 days in terms of what's on the books for occupancy, both in hotels in Miami-Dade County, as well as Airbnb, it's positive. That dotted line indicates where we were at last year. And then you can see the bars are showing us where we're at this year. And the great news here is that we are trending quite well above the watermark in terms of where we're at from last year. And I made those bars gold because, as we know, there's a certain event coming up. We just gave away passes to Art Basel. So we see that during Art Basel, we see much better booking increases over what it was last year. Looking at the pipeline here, this is what's coming into our county. And what I've blocked out here is on the top here, there are 6 hotels that are supposed to be open. They're in construction. They're scheduled to be open here by the end of the year, although sometimes these dates fluctuate. We see 6 hotels. That's almost 2,000 rooms that are being added onto inventory. So while we've had a lot of supply, we do know that we have a lot of demand. There's still a lot of supply that's being added that's going to need to be absorbed. And next year looks to be relatively robust. Most of the properties that we see opening up next year are going to be in Miami Beach or somewhere within the city of Miami proper. So as I mentioned, there's 6 hotels opening up this year. And one of note, I'll mention here, Fondly Lowe's in Coral Gables should be opening. So finally here, I'll share my visitor forecast. You folks are the first ones to see this. I've been working with my research partner for weeks on this. This is our forecast. This is really, this is going to be the guiding light for us as we move forward looking at tourism here in Miami-Dade County, both this year and next year. And what do we see? We are going to acknowledge and we are going to say, hey, we are going to see dips in visitation starting the beginning of this next year. Now, granted, we're comparing year over year. 2022 is super strong. So we get into 23, we're wrapping around. It's going to continue to be, strong, but not as strong as it was in 22. We anticipate a decline. There's 3 scenarios there that I'm putting out right now: our high scenario, our midpoint, and our low. 2 out of 3 of those scenarios are saying that our visitation is definitely going to be suffering in terms of where we're at this year. And actually, in that low scenario, we are not going to make 2019. So, we're just being quite clear and transparent here to show you that we are in line. We do believe there's going to be a decline next year. Some of this is based off of STR's forecast, but we also know, as I've already mentioned, business travel is still suffering, and we do have a lot of obstacles to overcome when it comes to international travel. Finally, here in summary, despite this macroeconomic volatility, everything we're seeing here from a tourism perspective, Miami-Dade County looks great. We're going to finish out really well, barring anything unforeseen, but would do tourism records this year. This has been a record year. Thank God our industry employment and leisure hospitality has finally crossed the finish line, as we can say now that we are finally employing people in our leisure and hospitality industry. We did talk about a global recession. It's going to have an impact. How much of an impact, we can't say. What we can say is that we do forecast that we will see a decline starting in Q1. We did expect our international markets to return slowly. They have various obstacles, but as we've mentioned here, they're still behind 2019. There are issues that are lagging, that are forcing them to lag. The booking pace through travel agencies I mentioned for airfare is actually looking pretty strong compared to a year ago, so it's optimistic. And finally, as I mentioned, business travel continues to struggle. Behaviors have changed. Some hoteliers, as I mentioned in the beginning, they had mentioned that focusing on alternative accommodations could be a part of a good revenue strategy. So take note, hoteliers, for those of you that are relying upon hotel business. So I ran through that as fast as I possibly could. Hopefully you've got something out of it. And then, of course, we're going to have a giveaway. So
actually, we already did the giveaway, but thank you very much, Andrew. Very informative. We will share this whole deck with you after the call for sure. So thank you very much. Andrew, if you want to take your presentation off cue as well. Perfect. And I want to real quick, I know Joseph's on the call. November 14th, we have our Zoom call in the morning, and in the evening, we will be at the planetarium at the Frost Museum of Science with an official Basel presentation along with Art Circuits. And then it'll also be our nominations meeting for the local association. In closing, it's easy to make a buck. It's tougher to make a difference. Let's strive to make a difference in the lives and the lives of others. Let's be a part of the solution, not the problem. Make strides to perform random acts of kindness and make a difference in someone else's life. If you can remember 10 words, no matter what anyone says or does, don't stop believing. Until next time, thank you very much. Andrew, Maria, Ayana, thank you. And congratulations to our winners, Andrea and Gary, for your winnings. And thank you for everyone that attended. Next month, November 14th in the morning, and then the evening, we will be at the Frost Museum. Until next time, have a great, great, great rest of your October. And as you can see in the background, I have somebody watching over me. If you can't make out who it is, thank you very much. And we will see you on November 14th. Take care. Bye-bye, everyone. Our goal is to inspire travel. We want to expose you to what Miami and South Florida has to offer. From Key Biscayne to Coconut Grove, South Beach to Calle Ocho and everywhere in between. Miami is a vibrant city and offers a wide array of popular attractions and venues. Come join us.